talking about the deaf, the blind. We're talking about people living with physical disabilities. We're talking about people living with invisible disabilities, actually. We are also talking about people, the hard to reach communities. We are talking about linguistically diverse populations. We are talking about the elderly, anyone who is marginalized, anyone who is underserved. That is what Nkwapa does, and service in with regards to their health. And we do this through inclusive health education. And by inclusive health education, I mean local Ghanaian languages, Ghanaian Sign Language, Braille, and other forms of accessible communication. We also organize and collaborate with individuals and organizations to organize accessible preventive health outreaches. And we also advocate for these populations, that is the marginalized and underserved populations. And so I am here by virtue of serving as the founder of Nkwapa, and also because I am concerned about inclusive healthcare, accessibility, and health equity for everyone. Yes, so this would be a brief introduction, yes, about me. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nanaba. Thank you for telling us about yourself and the good work you are doing at Nkwapa. All right, so we also have a special guest for tonight. She is called Sarafina Bain. I'll allow her to introduce herself as well. So Sarafina, good evening and welcome to Conversations on Women's Health.
Thank you, Mama. Please, I'm Sarafina Bain, a national service personnel at University of Ghana, Bamlandi, and I'm a visually impaired as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to have this conversation with you to understand your perspectives on this very important issue. So thank you for making the time once again. All right, so we may or may not have another guest joining us tonight. And so I will introduce her if and when she joins us. All right, thank you all once again for joining us this evening. So we are jumping right into it. So I want us to begin with a person, and who has already introduced herself, Sarafina Baini. She has told us that she's a visually impaired national service personnel. She's a lady, and so she's very, very key to this conversation we're about to have this evening. So, Sarafina, when you first started menstruating, how did you come to understand what was happening to you? Was the information there for you already? Or did you have to find your own way to understand what was happening? Hi, Sarafina, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, great. So please, did you get my question?
Yes, please.
All right. So you can go ahead.
Okay. I started my menstruation around at the ages of 13 years, and I was at boarding school at then. So at my time, I was fortunate to have a senior who was also doing her own. So he taught me how to use the pad and the rest, how to wear it and what to do, what I was not supposed to do by then. Yes, so I think
that's great information. Okay, so just to get more context, so this senior is or was also a visually impaired person.
Please come again.
So this senior, was she also a visually impaired person? Hi, Sarafina. Can you hear me? I think Sarafina is experiencing some internet issues. Let's just give her a minute and see if she comes back. So while we wait, that was very interesting for me to know because, and it's also eye-opening because we see that the first point of contact was not like a theoretical book. It wasn't an expert in quotes. It was just a peer. And so depending on how much information that peer had, that is how much information Sarafina would also be given at the same at that time, which tells us that um, peers are very important in this journey of menstrual hygiene education. If you decide that you are going to do an outreach to a school and you leave thinking that you are an expert, you are the expert, and so you brought all the information to them, forgetting that you need to make the people understand because they are going to also be like ambassadors in quote to their peers later on in life. And so as much as possible, we need to educate them, like bring them up to the point where they are able to also teach others when the time comes. That was very important. And I think it was eye-opening for us to know. Seraphine, are you back with us? Okay, she has dropped off. So I think we can just continue the conversation with Dr. Nanaba while we wait for Seraphina to join us once again. So Dr. Nanaba, from what Seraphina has just described, how common is that experience for girls with visual impairments in Ghana? And is information simply not reaching them, in your own opinion or in your expert opinion?
Okay. In my opinion, I wouldn't say experts because, well, I need to have lived it as they have to
Yeah.
actually say that I am an expert. But then, yes, from my point of view, I would say it's quite common because for the visually impaired, a number of times their parents or their caregivers place them in schools, institutions where they can be taught because of how they are. And so, say an example being the Kopong School for the Blind, another example, the WA School for the Blind. Yes. So when they're placed in such institutions and they actually do make friends, as Serafina has shared, it could be that she may see her mentors for the first time and tell a friend just as she did. They actually also have house mothers. So there are times where they can also tell them. And for for menstruation or for your menarche, which is actually your first periods, there are times where you may feel some body changes. There are times so that you wouldn't. And so for them, if they begin bleeding, they may feel some wetness or some that maybe they're soiled in a way. And so either prompt their house mothers that this is what I think is happening. Not that they may know what menstruation is, but then just to say I feel wet or I feel, and that they haven't urinated in any way, and so they would say, okay, I feel wet and I do not know what's going on. It could also be that they may be experiencing some changes. If it for the very first time it should come with some cramps, then they could also say, well, they have some abdominal discomfort. That is what they can say, because for the first time you wouldn't know what it is. And for most of us, we may have learned it in school. So if we had the education later in school, or we had our menses, say, in upper primary or in junior high school, you would have studied, or say from junior high school, senior high school, you would have studied about menstruation. And so should you see it for the first time, you would have an idea of what it is. But then in the instance where such education hasn't come, then you can only say what you're feeling, or yes, only say what you're feeling or what you're seeing, share it with someone, and then hope for a good response. And so that is what I can say with in this instance, that it could be that they tell their friends that this is how I'm feeling. I feel I have there's my panties are wet or my panty is wet, but I haven't peed, I haven't urinated, so I wonder what's going on, or I feel some lower abdominal discomforts, what's going on. And so then if, as Tarafina said, this lady had experienced it before and so she knew what it was, or their house mothers can also be contacted, or the school nurse, yes, can be contacted. And with regards to education, um, thankfully, I know for a proposed school for the blind, they have a school nurse. And we actually visited them on the 1st of May. Yes, that was earlier this month for a health outreach and donation. And we interacted with her, but we didn't go in depth in our conversations to know with regards to health education, how much the students receive. But we did present, yes, health education to them. And that was actually on menstrual hygiene, personal hygiene, and hand washing. And so I would say that in their schools, thankfully they have school nurses, they have a sick bay. So whatever form, yes, I would believe that they receive the education. Maybe not as much as they need to have, yes, but yes, in a way they receive the education. Yes. And also organizations, groups visit them as well. And so if it's a health focused organization, definitely in visiting, they would want to share some health information with them or some health education with them.
Yeah.
I think Safina is back with us.
Okay, great. Safina, are you back?
Yes, please.
Can you hear us?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. All right, great. So I was asking that the lady that you referred to who gave you that information your first time, was she also a visually impaired student?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. And had anyone spoken to you ever about menstruation before that period? That's
No, please.
okay. All right. So we've had a good understanding of the lived experience and what also should happen or what ideally happens. I'm just also thinking that this also underscores the importance of giving the students the education even before they get to the age of menstruation, even before they get to that reproductive age. Because I can imagine that what if there was no one around Sarafina, all the people around here were her age mates who may not have experienced this menstruation already. It would have been quite a difficult time for her. She would have had to get up. I can imagine getting up the loins to go and talk to your school nurse or your house mother about such an experience. And so it really underscores the importance of we teaching these children about their body, about their health, way before they get to the period where they need to be thinking about menstruation, you know. Yeah, so that was quite important for us to
Yes,
know.
if I can chip this in or
Yeah.
ask if Serafina can throw more light on her experience. That Serafina, so when you told your senior about it, what did she say? And then how did she go about guiding you through the process for the very first time?
Okay. When I
Or what did you
turned
tell
that
her you
age,
saw or you felt it was?
when I turned to that age, and I was curious to know more about it because I knew by then it could come at any time. So I was really finding information. So when it came, in fact, I soiled myself. So it was a colleague who could see small told me that this is what has happened. So immediately, and I went to that senior to ask for pad, and I started fixing it myself. It was difficult though because nobody taught me, like a sim. I didn't get anyone who can see to teach me around that time. It was my colleague visually impaired who taught me. So at first it was quite difficult. So it was later I became cool around it.
Hmm. That's really key. And I like your experience. Your experience has been quite insightful for us to understand how this goes because at least you were curious and thankfully you asked the right places for the information. Imagine someone who is also as curious as you were and did not know the right places to ask for that kind of information. And probably the person who she had gone to ask would have told her that, oh, when you need to have sex so that you feel better, it will not come as much as it is coming right now. You understand?
Oh
So
yeah, I had such experience. I was having menstrual cramps
mm,
and I went to ask a colleague, and that was the I don't know whether to say a remedy or a medicine that the person taught me.
mm, interesting. It's really interesting, and we are seeing a lot where all the gaps are. And thank God that you're telling us from your own personal experience, so we can see better. So, Sarafina, um,
Yes.
I want to ask, uh, in your daily life, what has been the hardest part of managing your menstrual health? And what have you worked out for yourself that is helping you?
Okay. My daily life, you see, for visually impaired, moving around is quite difficult if you don't get anyone to assist you.
Mm,
So with me, I always have pad with me
mm,
because um there are certain months sometimes it will not come as I would be expecting.
mm,
So after 15 days, after doing it, the next 15 days, from that 15 days going, I'll be starting keeping parts in my bag
mm,
as wherever
mm,
I go, so that if anything happens, I'll be able to manage it. But other people too may not know what I know. So they
yeah.
keep on soiling themselves outside. And you see, sometimes when a seeing colleague see that this has happened to a visual impaired, sometimes they use that to speak against persons with
Mm,
disability, that they don't keep ourselves clean or something. So it's sometimes difficult.
yeah, I can imagine.
Mm.
I can only imagine. I'm so sorry that you have to go through this. I wish there was more that we could do to help, but we are doing our best. I mean, we
Yeah.
believe that the system will change very soon so that everybody will feel comfortable in their own skin as soon
Yeah.
as. So, how did you come by the 15 days thing that you know now?
Um, after I think after 2 years, we had a health talk at my school. So the nurses taught us how to calculate it and know
Mm,
how and when you have to keep part with you whenever you are going. So that was how I was
mm,
able to know.
that's very interesting. Have you ever heard of the menstruation bracelets?
No, please.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just a bracelet that they make. It has 28 beads on it, and it just has five to seven red beads, and the rest are white. So you just feel around it. For the red beads, it has some distinguishing features, like you can feel it when you touch it, you can feel it. So it just helps you to keep track. So the next time I see you,
Okay.
I'm going to give you one.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. All right, so we continue our conversation. So when so much, Dr. Nanaba, when so much information about menstrual periods is so visual, like you need to be able to see, to be able to understand the information that is being given, packaging, charts, how to calculate your menses and all those things. Um, Okay, first of all, I want Sarafina to tell us, how do you feel about this? What is it like for you to get information about your menstruation or your menstrual health when most of the things that they give out there are for people who can see?
Okay. You see, sometimes um if we are talking to ourselves, we'll be able
Mm,
to know how, like, we understand ourselves. If a person with disability, let's say visually impaired, is teaching another something, the person will give you more examples, or there are certain things they will let you feel with your hands, maybe touch, touching. So with that, you'll be able to know how to go about it.
Yeah, that is a very key point for the people themselves to be the teachers and the leaders of this move to educate the others. Yeah, it's very key. It's very important. All right. So, Dr. Nanaba, just as Sarfina has described what is missing, what else do you think is needed in this space? What are your thoughts with
Okay,
regards to
so
child health
mm,
education for visually impaired people? Yeah.
okay, so with that, because they're visually impaired, yes, touch would be of very, yes, tactile sensations are very
Yeah.
important. And for the visually impaired, I know that apart from those who are completely blind, there are others who also have low vision. And
Yeah.
so the whilst others may not be able to see at all, there are others who also have low vision. And so we need to, in trying to help them, we need to think about them as they are and how they actually live so that we can be as intentional and inclusive as possible. Because say you want to help someone, but then in trying to help them, you don't actually solve the problem, but you worsen it, or
Yeah.
I mean, it actually is of no use. That is wrong. And so usually when we're trying to solve problems or bring out solutions, we must include the people we are trying to help. And so by doing that, either we consult with them or we invite them in the planning and in making up a solution, or we place ourselves in their shoes, however, as much as possible to help in making, to help in solving the problem, or we research. We do a lot of research because I have a friend who says, when we're trying to help people, is it nice to do or is it a need to do? So in a need to do, then it means you're solving the problem. It's intentional, it's worthwhile, it's measurable, it's sustainable, and it means you actually did include the people. But if it is nice to do, it's not worthwhile. It's going to be there just for a moment, and then it will go away, and there'll be no point in what we did. And so, with regards to health education for the visually impaired, we need to consider, as I said, tactile sensations. And so, with the materials we provide, the resources we provide, they must be as, with regards to the text, yes, as Braille. And recently, during our visit to the Kropong School for the Blind, we provided the students with 3D designed and printed educational materials on hand washing, personal hygiene, and menstrual hygiene. And so 3D, which is to say that we had images included, yes, and they could feel around them. And again, we actually for our next materials that we'll be making, include Braille on the images that we provided so that even as they feel around the image, say it's a pad, I think I should have come along with, yes, with one of them to show in the video. So even when it's say a pad that you have drawn or a girl or someone with acne, because on ours, that was how it was. We had a pad drawn, we had a girl showing the breast and the hips to show development. We had made some holes just to show acne and all that. So while they're doing that, they're feeling around the image to actually know that this is what we are looking at while they read the Braille. Again, with those who have limited vision or low vision, the images should be as colorful as possible and as illustrative as possible, the educational materials, and also the text should be also as legible as possible. Yes, we should not assume that since I can read it as someone who sees without any impairment, the other person, yes, the next person should be able to read just as well. Again, with education, we need to also know how much they can understand us, and even in the language they can understand us. I'm using again the example of our visit to the Kropong School for the Blind. When we visited them, we spoke in both Asantiki and then in English. It's a school, yeah, so you'd expect that we should only speak in English. But we had a number of them actually interacting, even first approaching us, speaking Asantiki. So which is even to say that if the person who needs the help or you're trying to help approaches you with what they know, you also need to meet them with what they know. Do not come in with something new. And even when we were educating, there were times when they would say, if they can't hear you, they would say, Dr. Yentio, and Madam Yentio, not we can't hear you, or the audible. So which was more or less signaling us that, well, we need to be audible and in the language that they met us with. So we were actually doing it in both languages. So we must also consider the language that they can hear us in, because thankfully they can hear us. And so in the education, we need to speak it in the language that they can hear us. And as simple as possible, it's important that we also consider simple language when we're communicating with them, however possible. But again, we need to know if it's an institution, say a school that you visited, then if it's the primary school, you know that these are the words I should be using as simple as possible so they understand. If it's junior high school, these I know maybe they've studied in integrated science, they've been told about menstruation in a way. So if I should mention some words, they would be familiar with them. If it's senior high school, if it's a vocational institution, you know the language to use. Even if it's a community that you visit, yes, where they are visually impaired, you need to also know the language and also know how much you can simply present it. So that has to do with presenting health education orally, and also with resources. Let's consider them in Braille. Yes, important in Braille as they know it, and also with the images if we can. A step further, thankfully within Kwapa, we have available 3D educational materials. And then again, if they're going to be also as Braille materials, but for those with limited vision, then we need to make them as illustrative and as colorful as possible, just so when they read the text, they can also associate it with the images that they will be looking at. Yes, and also patience in speaking, or say taking our time when we are explaining concepts or diseases, or just providing health education, so that they can go along with us and then appreciate it as much as possible. I believe there will be more that I will say as we go on, but for now, this is what I can say. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Thank
again,
you.
yes. So even in social media, as we are talking now, and thankfully, I know for our session, it will be as inclusive as possible. But for others who are also in our space, wanting to help, wanting to provide health education, we also need to consider text, closed caption text, for those with limited vision who can get to read. And again, with the audio as well, ensure that our sound is good, just so that they can also get to hear what we are presenting. Yes, with regards to the visually impaired. Please, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. That was really helpful. So for Sarafina, have you had any experiences with healthcare providers around your reproductive health? Did they understand what you needed, and did they treat you with the dignity that you believe you deserve?
No, please.
You've not had any such experiences.
Yes, please. All those
Okay.
experiences, no, they did it for the same colleagues. So they didn't really pay attention to person
So,
with disability.
wow. Okay, that's interesting. Have you ever had to go to the hospital for your health, and how was that experience like?
Okay. Some health personnel help the patients to communicate with me to understand whatever is around. But some
Mm.
of them too don't have.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
government
when
side, as for the health service in there, some hospital are able to do it, but some of them too, they don't.
hmm. So when they are not able to be as accommodating as possible, what do you do? Like, you went there to be treated. Now they are not accommodating you. What are your options then?
As for me, I do ask questions. Whatever
Mm.
you do to me, I'll ask. But
Mm.
other people too might not have the courage to do that. So when it happens like that, they don't get whatever they want.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Hmm. This conversation is really deep and it's really exposing a lot of things to us. Thank you so much for being so honest with us.
You're
Um,
welcome.
Dr. Nanaba. So, okay, before Dr. Nanaba comes, I think she's gone off for a minute. So,
No, I'm
Sarafina,
here.
okay, let me just ask Sarafina, then we'll come back to you.
Oh, okay.
So, Sarafina, when you imagine a period-friendly world or a world that is truly accommodating for everybody, not just for people who see, not just for people who are able, but for everyone, no matter your disability status, what does that look like? And what do you think will be different from what you're experiencing now?
Okay, so for us right now, the world is in practicing inclusion. I think when it happens like that, we all will be able to put on track whether
Mm,
a person with disability or without a person with a disability will be able to understand whatever is happening so that we will not feel that we are rejected.
mm, yeah,
Yes.
yes. So, for instance, if you were in school and they were doing an outreach, how do you think that outreach should look like for everybody?
I think it should be inclusion.
Mm,
So if they are doing inclusion, I think sign language interpreters must be there.
mm,
Um, I think vision. I don't know how to describe. Okay, for someone to be there to be describing whatever is happening to those who
yeah,
can't see,
yeah,
and they should be having it as wherever the place will be accessible for those also using wheelchairs and other
yeah,
things. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Thank you for your opinions on that. So, what about social media? How should social media look like if we want to be able to reach everybody, not just people who are not disabled?
Okay, everything should be accessible. If
Mm-hmm.
if you are doing a program or something, you have to add sign language, text, audio for everyone to
Mm,
also have his or her share in whatever you are talking about.
okay. And then lastly, about their products. What types of products do you use? Do you use the normal disposable parts?
Yes, please.
Okay. And ideally, do you think it's good enough for you?
Okay. For me, I have specific ones I think if I use I'm comfortable. So it has been that product always that I use. But some of them too, you see, when I change it, sometimes I do soil myself sometimes. So
Mm,
I use that specific product only.
okay. So that product, is it made for you like when you touch it, can you differentiate it from any other product?
Yes, please.
How do you differentiate?
Okay. You see, some of them have some smell. It has some smell,
Mm,
either
okay.
rub or mint smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I hold it and it
Differentiate.
is not like that, I will know that that's not what
Okay.
I want. Yes.
Okay. So imagine a world where there were tactile materials on the parts that enables you to read. For instance, when you touch it, it's in braille or in tactile. So you can differentiate that this is, I don't want to be mentioning brand names here, but this is this one, this is that one. Would that be
Yeah.
helpful?
Yes, it will be very helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it
That's
will be
great
very
to know.
helpful.
Thank you for so much honesty tonight. So, Dr. Nana, I'm back to you. What is one thing that you want everyone who is listening tonight to understand about what needs to change?
Mm, okay. So about what needs okay, so about what needs to change is or includes first the conversations we have. Most of our conversations, most of our planning, most of our organizations tend to center around those who are um, for the lack of a better word, just say who can see without, who have no visual impairments, who have no, I think today
Yeah.
we didn't get to say much about those with
Adapt.
audio,
Yeah.
yes, yes, the other disabilities. We're mainly yes, focusing on visual impairments, yes, which is great. So I think I would, I'll just touch on the other disabilities briefly, but center it on visual impairment. So we should have our conversations, plannings, considerations around every person, with every person. I wouldn't even say around because when I should I even say around, it's more or less as not including them, but just circling around them and trying to see if we can include them. But this is actually with them.
Yeah.
So in whatever way possible, say we're talking about a period friendly world now. So with our products, yes. If a deaf person should use it, how will they go about it, or how happy will they be using these products? If a blind person should use it, Sarafina talked about sometimes bleeding or soiling herself when she changes the brand of the pad that she uses. It's actually the same thing with us as well, or for me, because there are
Yeah.
particular brands that when I use, I think okay, for most ladies, I should say we all have particular brands that we're
Yeah.
comfortable with, and we've had some trial and error sessions where some situations, thankfully, we were able to save ourselves quickly. So imagine this if you as say a person who can see and then you try another brand and it didn't help you. Then how much more someone who is visually impaired? And thankfully for Serafina, she mentioned that when for her menarche, there was a pair who could see, who had limited vision, but still was able to tell her that she had soiled herself. But then
Yeah.
if she's in a space where they may not be able to see or tell, then she can only do that for herself by any changes that she experiences. So let's also look at the products that we bring into the market. Let us consider everyone as much as possible. Yes, let's not just look at the profit we are earning. I know it's business, it's the market. Profit must come in more than losses, yes. But then I actually even believe that sometimes when you're trying to help or give back without looking at a profit or without thinking of self, that is when you even make more.
Yeah.
That is actually
Actually.
when you make more. So let's just look at the aspect of also brands and then the sanitary pads, making them as inclusive as possible, even with the labeling, even with their names. I'm sure that we would have other conversations with Serafina where she can tell us more. Because when you have a number of sanitary pad brands here, and then we just have to feel for them to know which is which. If not, because for some people, maybe if they know the brand so well, they can easily tell even with their eyes closed that this is the brand that it is. But then for others who do not know, how are we looking at the names? How are we looking at the textures? How are we looking at whether they're for nights? Now we know that we have volumes of how much volume each pad can even take. So then we have the day pads, we have the night pads, we have I think we even have very slimmer pads as well. But how do we all get to know how inclusive are these? I mean, these brands or these, even with the packaging, if nothing at all, even the packaging, how inclusive is it? And also, yes, even talking about people living with other physical disabilities, those who have mobility impairments. So with those who have amputations, those who use wheelchairs, those with cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy. Yes, when we talk about those with these physical disabilities, how do they get to use these sanitary pads? I'm talking about only sanitary pads here because of we mostly use that. But even with
Right.
period cups, even with the cups, even with the tampons, yes, how do they use these? Have we considered them in this conversation? Have we looked at the other people living with the other disabilities in providing these sanitary products? Health education, again, yes, it must change, and must not only change when we go out to help, but it must also change in our hospitals. When patients come, deaf people get sick, blind people get sick, people living with physical disabilities get sick, people living with other disabilities get sick, with sensory disabilities, intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, they all get sick, they all come to the hospital. How patient are we? How inclusive are we in providing health to them, in trying to answer their questions? How intentional are we with that, even in the hospital, the four walls of the hospital, administratively? How have we made the protocols? Because for every facility, there are protocols that we adhere. The yes, protocols that we adhere with regards to any condition. And so from the top, and a number of times most doctors or a number of doctors wouldn't want to say get into trouble, so they must go by the book as the protocol says, so that should there come to questioning, well, you can defend yourself and say that, well, I went by the protocols, I went by the book, and so I am safe. So then from the top, how are we being inclusive? How are we being intentional about people living with physical disabilities coming into our hospitals? Again, on the outside the hospitals, in our families, our friends, how are we including them? How are we drawing their attention to people living with disabilities and the fact that we must engage them in these conversations? People even organize any kind of event at all, and then forget to include them in the planning that we will expect them to attend. So then, say someone who uses a wheelchair attends an event and the building all around it, there are only stairs. How do they get in? So then now you have to hold them up and then hold them and get them in. No, let's look at their dignity. Let's look at autonomy. Let's look at independence. These are very fundamental to our existence. Any other person, I mean, how do you feel when someone even insults you? Just insult. How do you feel? Yes, in an argument, or even in some people, even when they're playing and they insult each other, they do not like it. So imagine going to a place where you've been invited, or you saw the event, the flyer online, or someone invited you to attend, and then you get there and there's no way to even get into the venue. That is wrong. Person coming in, did we prepare? Did we actually anticipate their arrival? Did we even invite them? Even if nothing, did we invite them to the event? And I'm actually generalizing it to any event at all, health outreaches, conferences. We have a number of seminars and conferences where, I mean, we talk about all these things and we forget that there are people who are deaf. There are people who are blind. And I'm saying people. I'm not even centering on the disability. I'm centering on people. There are people who are deaf. There are people who are blind. There are people who are living with other disabilities. Did we include them? Yet we're saying we're trying to help. But then no. So even in a period-friendly world, yes, in our hospitals, in our education, in our products, in our advocacy, yes, in our advocacy, we must include them because they come in with the experience. We may not have experienced it as they have. We may just have seen it, but to actually experience it, let us invite them, let us include them. Yes, it's important that we do that, and let's not make decisions around them. Let's not make it about them. Let's make it with them. Let's make the decisions with them. Yes, it's important that we do that. So that is what I can say. It's very being intentional, being present in every dealing. Yes, and honestly, in everything that we do. But most importantly, with regards to this conversation, yes, with regards to menstrual health, menstrual hygiene, and women's health.
Yeah, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing. So our time is actually fast spent, but please give me a few more minutes so we can answer some questions that we've gotten. So should this be to Sarafina? So let's say Sarafina, what do you
Yes,
wish your teachers or your family members had done differently when you were younger and you were just learning about menstrual health?
please come again.
What do you wish your teachers or your family members had done differently when you were younger or when you were just about to have your menses?
They were to speak more about it to me, explain how things work around that time, and even how when it comes to I will be able to know that this
Yeah,
is menses or
yeah,
like something like that. Yes, that was
yeah.
what I would be expecting them.
To do.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know, just tell me if this is too personal and I will not force you to answer, but how
Um,
does it look like at home? How do you manage yourself at home? Are your family members very accommodating? Like, do they help you? Do they hold your hands? Do they take you to the washroom? Like, how does it look like?
yes, but for since I've living long with them, the house, I'll
Mm,
be able to, like, I'm able to navigate without
yeah,
any help. unless
Oh,
I'm stepping outside.
yeah, you're going to a new place.
Yes. But within
Yeah,
the house, yeah, I know every way that
you need to
I'm
go.
going. Yes.
Hmm. That's that's nice. So at school too, do you need someone to help you, or you're also familiar with the spaces now? Sarafina. Sorry, is it me or it's her?
I think it's her
It's
because
her. Okay,
I can hear
you
you.
can hear me. All right. So while she comes back,
Mm.
ah, knock that
I think I
another.
would even, yeah, I would even say something again with accessibility with regards to our washrooms. Yes,
Yeah,
when Sarafina mentioned it, it crossed my mind. Even with our washrooms, how do
yeah,
we design our
yeah,
washrooms? I'm even talking about design first before we construct or build or put. How do we
yeah.
design the washrooms? Do we think about them? Do we anticipate? Not do we expect them to actually use the washrooms or not?
Hmm.
Yes, now
Very good.
people. I would say these are people with disabilities, but centering on people. They're just as human, they're just as people as we are, persons as we are. So then do we even include them? Do we consider them in the design of the washrooms before we
Hmm.
think about the materials to get, even the materials to get? Because there are people who have sensory disabilities, there are people with developmental disabilities. I've not even talked about those living with other like physical disabilities that we also need to consider. So that's the colors of the washrooms, the textures that we use, the lighting that we use. Then we go to the toilets themselves, the sinks, yes. And so let's include all that accessibility as well. How
That's
easy can they get to the washrooms? One, how easily can they use the washrooms? How easily can
Yeah.
they come out of the washrooms? Yes. So it's important that we consider yes this as well.
no.
Okay. Sarafina, you're back with us. So can
Yes,
you just,
yes, please. My
did you hear my
network.
question?
Please, are you asking
Yeah.
about the school?
Yes. How was your experience when you were in school?
Okay, as for the school there, I have someone.
Oh man.
Yes, we've lost the network.
Yeah, so let's just continue. I'm sure she'll come back very, very soon.
Yes, yes.
So we're actually at the final stage. And Dr. Anamba, what are your last words? What do you want everyone to carry away from this conversation?
Mm. Okay, so what I want everyone to carry from this conversation is that I think I have been saying it a number of times. They are people, they are humans, just as we are. I would even say people, let me say humans, because that makes it as simple as possible. They are just as human as we are. And
Hmm.
so, if you are in a position to influence decisions, thankfully, I know will be recorded and then posted, and so others will get to see as well. So, if you're here on the call with us, yes, and then you're in a place of influence, a place to make decisions, yes, and then for anyone who would also watch as well, please keep people. I call them differently abled, actually. Yes,
Yeah.
it's easier actually. It's for me. I would rather call them differently abled individuals, but which is to say that people living with disabilities, keep them in the conversation. Begin with them in the conversation. They shouldn't be an afterthought. Sadly, a number of times when we make decisions or when we're planning, we we make them either they're an afterthought or they are not even thought of at all. And
It's
then
about,
event happens, the decision is made or the policy is made or this is made, I mean, the protocol is set, and then they're not even considered. But before, if you're in a position to actually influence decisions, make decisions, please include them, be intentional about your planning. Again, I would say that if you have friends, speak with them, engage with them, know how life is from their perspective, because that way it makes it easier in your with regards to your relationships with them. Because if you're
mm,
able to know that this is how they feel, this is how they see things, this is how they think about things, this is how they respond to things, you can easily engage with them. And they would also know that you understand them. Because a number of times when they're relating with us, they know people do not know much. And that should not be the case. So a point to learn or a learning place would actually be if you have a friend who is who lives with a disability, getting to know more. If not, read more, research. Yes, that way it also makes it easier when you should you ever have to interact with such a person that you wouldn't be wondering, okay, am I using the right words? Am I touching them right? Am I speaking with them right? Just so we also don't walk on eggshells around them. A number of them actually are very accommodating. They actually want to interact with you, they want to be around you, but when they realize there's a bit of hesitance with regards to interactions, then they know what is going on. So let's also keep abreast with information. Let's also know more. Let us be aware and let's advocate for them as much as we can. They are human. I'm not even going to say people, but they're humans just as we are. And so we need to include them in this conversation. And so yes, all the stakeholders, people, everyone, yes, let's just be as inclusive and as intentional as possible. The businessmen and women as well with the companies and the brands, please, in providing solutions as well. Yes, I mean, products and services, please be inclusive. Please be inclusive. With when I think when we were going to, yes, this will end this. When we were going to the Ekopon School for the Blind, we actually curated period purses for each girl student. And so it included sanitary pads, hand tissues, hand sanitizers, hand creams, and then purses. So before we even began, we had to do a lot of research, even with the purses. We were thinking, what texture should the purses be? I mean, with regards to fabric. Then
Yeah.
even with the fasteners, we're thinking, should we go for those with zippers, those with buttons, those with Velcro, those with threads or hooks? I mean, those with should it be a hook and eye? We were looking at that as well, and then we were also looking at the content of the items. Okay, so for tissue paper, thankfully you can open and close. The brand we went for, you could easily open and then close with had a sticker, so you would open, take a tissue, can tell the texture difference, and then you close it easily. With a hand sanitizer, yes, also a flip top cover, yes, so that you can easily open and then close. The same thing with a hand cream as well. It had one that we could easily open and close. But what made the difference was the hand sanitizer had a different shape. The bottle, the packaging had a different shape from the hand cream. And so you could tell that, okay, so this is the hand sanitizer because of its shape. This is the hand cream because of its shape. And even with the content of the hand cream, we collaborated um, with a business, yes, to support us. And when speaking with them, they asked that what, with regards to the hand cream, how should we make it? So I think I should, am I okay? Am I permitted to mention their names or should we? Yes.
I
All right.
ideally
I will take credit whenever I can. Yes. So in speaking with them,
yeah.
they asked me that an up and coming business, and then they asked me, what should be the content of the hand cream? How should it smell? I mean, with regards to texture, with regards to smell, with regards to oils, the ingredients. They
Mm,
actually asked me, they wanted to know. I would have told them, I actually wanted to tell them right after. But then the next question that came was, how should we make these hand creams? Considering that they're one young children, I mean, we're looking at young children up until the adolescents. And then, so they asked,
yeah.
how should we make it? So again, because they were young children, had young children included, and also they were visually impaired. And so they asked us, and we just said, okay, well, with regards to the scent, the oils, no grease or little grease, good smell, this and that, the textures, the color, and all that. And they had it made that way, intentionally curated. And with sanitary pads, we had them as it is. And thankfully, on the day, we educated them on menstrual hygiene, menstrual health, and so during the session, and we gave them sanitary pads and then one each, and also with panties as well, just so they could show us if they could place the pads in themselves, and a number of them could. And also they asked questions, and so that is how come we went in with sanitary pads for them, because they were conversant with them. We actually do have other sanitary products on the market that I think needs to come into the conversation and see how inclusive they are in their use, just so they can also be easily used. So this, and some what I'm trying to say is that in everything that we do, even in trying to help people living with disabilities, we need to be intentional, either include them in the conversation, do it with them, or put ourselves in their shoes as much as possible, or learn more about them, research, so that everything that we do will be as inclusive and as intentional and as worthwhile. And usually for me, I say that for impact, it needs to be measurable and sustainable. If it's not measurable, if it's not sustainable, it's not worthwhile, because in the end, the impact wouldn't have been not be as lasting as we would want it to be, and the problem wouldn't be solved, yes, as we actually would want it to be. So I could go on and on, but I will end here.
Thank you so much. So, Sarafina, what do you want people who listen to this, who watch this, to carry from this conversation?
Okay. I appreciate this initiative very, very much. In fact, this is my first time seeing such organization doing this, and I appreciate. God bless you and give you more strength to advocate for persons with disability.
Amen.
Yes, and I would like to, like, it's not only, you see, the inclusive school, people do go to only a Kropon school for the blind. So I would like you to extend it to other inclusive schools across the country, so that they will be also have same information.
Yeah.
That's issues. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. So we'll come back to you for your references to the other inclusive schools and for your friends as well, so that we can just educate everybody as much as we can. Thank
Yes.
you so much
No
for
problem.
joining us this evening. Thank you for your time, for your honesty. This has been such an insightful conversation. And we don't take it for granted at all. We don't take you for granted. We are so appreciative of you for joining us and telling us your story. Dr. Ananamba, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing your knowledge on inclusion, accessibility, and everything in between. Thank you for sparing us some of your very hard time this evening. Everything. Thank you for being so accommodating for in all the things that we've had to go through today. And thank you everyone who joined this evening, this conversation. We are grateful that you are here, and we hope that you continue to spread the word wherever you go. And please share with your friends. You see how much people know this information, so please share with your friends. Like we always do, this recording will be made available as soon as possible. And for this time around, we'll have a sign language interpreter to interpret everything that we said today. So it will be part of the video that will be uploaded. So look out for that and share with everyone as much as possible so that we can get the word out there. So in like I always do when we end this, I'll tell you about the next episode or the next session. In June, we'll be taking a little break, but I believe that by the end of June, we'll have another one of such insightful conversations with either someone else or with Rafina and someone else, so that we can just have more of this. There's so much more we could have spoken about today, but because of time, we need to cut it short. So we want to have another one of this conversation next month. So please look out for it. Look out for the dates and invite your friends to join us. And to close out, we believe that a period-friendly world is very possible. We just need to be more intentional about including everyone in it, because it's not just for some people. We want the world to be period-friendly for everybody who menstruates, for everybody who has a tendency to menstruate, and for even those who are even in a menopausal stage. We want it to be friendly for them as well. So thank you all once again for joining us this evening, and God bless you. So before we go, as is our custom here, we pray before we go. So, Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for such a conversation. We thank you for knowledge. We thank you that we will not perish because you are opening our eyes. You are opening our eyes to so much. You are giving us the insights that we need, not only to benefit ourselves, but also to even be advocates for those who are not able to speak up for themselves, those who are not in their position to do so. Thank you for giving us the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to do so and to be empathetic to their situation and to be sympathetic with their situation as well, to be intentional in our relationships and our conversations with them. Thank you, Father, for tonight, and thank you for everything that this conversation is even going to do in the future. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you all.
Amen.
Bye.